Welcome to part 2 of this Google Sheets tutorial. In this part of the tutorial, we will focus on formatting. After finishing this 20-minute module, you will have 11 more spreadsheet skills to improve your performance in your job, school, or business. Let's get started. To quickly enhance the look of your spreadsheet, you can change the font of the text. Fonts are sets of characters, including letters, numbers, and punctuation, designed with a unified appearance. They come in different sizes and styles, such as bold and italics, offering various options to customize your text. To change a font, select the cells you want to format. Next, click the Font List drop-down arrow on the formatting toolbar. The default font is Arial. Below this, you will see recent fonts used and a list of fonts available to select. I don't see the font I'm looking for, so I will click More Fonts. The Fonts dialog box displays. I will type Calibri in the search box, select it, then click OK. The font has been changed. A common formatting task while working in Google Sheets is to change the font size of certain elements in a spreadsheet. Let's increase the font size of the column header in this table so it is easier to read. To change the font size, select the cells to format. Next, click Format on the menu. Now hover the mouse over font size. Finally, select the font size. I will select 14. The font size has been changed. Now let's look at another way to change the font size. Click in the Font Size box on the toolbar. A list of font sizes are displayed. This time I will select 18. Okay, I've realized this font size is too big. I can also use the plus and minus buttons next to the font size box to change the size. I will click the minus button a few times to decrease the font size to 12. Okay, I think this looks better. In this lesson, you learned a few ways to change the font size in Google Sheets. In this lesson, we will look at how to use more formatting techniques, including applying font effects. We have the Fortune 1000 company's spreadsheet once again. The column header's font and font size have already been formatted. It has also been bolded. If you want to unbold the cells, click the Bold Command button on the toolbar. Let's keep the headers bolded. We can change the text color by clicking the Text Color Command button, which displays the color selections. I like this blue color, so I will select it. Now let's add a background color to the cells. Click the Fill Color Command button on the toolbar. Let's select this light gray color. The table looks good, so let's wrap up this lesson here. In this lesson, you learned about font effects, including bold, text color, and fill color, which can be used to give your spreadsheets a more polished look. While working in Google Sheets, you will likely need to change the alignment of text, numbers, and other values. We have the Places to Visit spreadsheet here. To change horizontal alignment, select a cell or cell range. Next, click the Horizontal Align button on the toolbar. There are 3 alignment options: left, center, and right. I will select center to center the column headers. You can also vertically align cell values. You may need to do this if a row height is larger than usual. To change vertical alignment, select a cell or cell range. Next, click the Vertical Align button on the toolbar. There are 3 options: top, middle, and bottom. Let's select top. The cell values are now top aligned. In this lesson, you learned how to horizontally and vertically align cell values. The Merge Cells feature in Google Sheets is a convenient tool that enables you to combine multiple selected cells into one. This is particularly useful for formatting, such as creating a header that extends across multiple columns or rows. I have added a header in cell A1 of the spreadsheet. I would like to format it so that it is centered across columns A, B, and C. We can use the Merge Cells feature to do this. To merge cells, first select a cell range. One quick note: when you perform a horizontal merge, the data from the top leftmost cell in the selection is preserved. All other cells' contents are deleted so use caution with this feature to avoid accidental data loss. Next, click the Merge Cells button on the toolbar. Cells A1, B1, and C1 have been merged. You can unmerge the cells by clicking the Select Merge Type drop-down arrow to the right of the Merge Cells button. Next, select Unmerge. The cells are unmerged and the cell borders are once again present between A1, B1, and C1. I want to keep the cells merged, so I will click the Merge Cells button once again. Next, I will horizontally align the header to be centered. Finally, let's add a fill color to make the header stand out more. In this lesson, you learned how to use the Merge Cells feature to combine multiple cells into one. Google Sheets' Wrap Text feature is great for ensuring that all your data remains visible and well organized within a cell, particularly when the text exceeds the default cell width. As of this video, the default cell width is 100 pixels. The Wrap Text command has 3 options. I have created 3 different text strings below, so we can explore how each option works. Let's select the text in cell A3. Next, click the Text Wrapping button on the toolbar. The 3 text wrap options display. I will select Overflow, which enables text to overflow into the next cell. The text string was already overflowing into the next cell by default, so our text remains the same as before. Now let's select the text in cell A5. Once again, click the Text Wrapping button on the toolbar. This time let's choose the Wrap option. The text wraps onto the next line. Moving on, click cell A7 to explore the third text wrap option. Next, click the Text Wrapping button on the toolbar. Finally, let's choose the Clip option. This clips the text off at the cell border. In this lesson, you learned about the Text Wrapping command, including its 3 options. Cell borders help visually organize your data, which makes them a useful formatting feature. We have the Places to Visit spreadsheet here, which should be familiar to you if you have watched some of my other videos. Let me quickly add a column and row so that we will be able to see the cell borders a little bit better once we add them. Okay, that's better. To add a cell border, select a cell or range. Next, click the Borders button on the toolbar. A Borders Options menu displays where you can choose where you want the borders to appear. The options include all, inner, horizontal, vertical, outer, left, top, right, and bottom. There is also a clear option to remove the borders. To the right of these are the border color options. Below the border color options are the border style options where you can choose a solid, dashed, dotted, or double-lined border. Now that we understand the border options, let's add a border to our table. First, I will select all borders. Borders now appear on all cells in our table. You may be asking which is the right border to choose. The answer is, it depends. You will need to decide which border makes the most sense for your cells. This is something you will naturally build a feel for with time. Next, I will change the border color to this cornflower blue color since I like it better. Okay, I noticed the border color didn't change. This sometimes happens. I'm not sure why. How I usually fix this is by selecting the border type once again. The color change then takes effect. Finally, I will take a look at the border style options. I'm actually happy with this border style, so I will leave it as is. In this lesson, you learned how to add a cell border. We also learned about border options, such as border types, colors, and styles. Some of the number formats in Google Sheets include automatic, number, currency, and time. The default number format is automatic. In this lesson, we will look at how to change the number format. You may be asking, why change the default automatic format? The answer is it helps prepare your data to use with formulas and functions, since it lets Sheets know what kind of data you have. To change the number format, select the cell or cell range of the numbers you want to format. I will select cells C2 through C8. Next, click the 1, 2, 3 More Formats button on the Formatting toolbar. A dialog box opens with an extensive list of number formats. As I mentioned earlier, automatic is the default number format, as you can see by the check mark. There are formats for number, percent, scientific, currency, date, time, and more. We will discuss just the basics of number formats, but it's worth noting it can be a vast topic, which is beyond the scope of this introductory lesson. Our product list has a prices column with the prices listed as a number with 2 decimals. It may be more useful to change this to currency. I will select the currency number format. The prices now appear with a dollar symbol, which is more appropriate for product prices. Let me undo our last step, then click the Format as Currency button on the toolbar. We get the same result with one less click. As mentioned, the product prices have 2 decimal places. We can easily increase the decimal places displayed by clicking the Increase Decimal Places button on the toolbar. Conversely, we can decrease the decimal places displayed by clicking the Decrease Decimal Places button. A key thing to note is decreasing or increasing the decimal places displayed doesn't change the underlying number. For example, if we click the displayed price for shampoo, which is rounded to 1 decimal, the number in the formula bar still displays 9.75, which is still the underlying value. I will change the decimals back to 2 places. In this lesson, you learned the basics of number formats. You also learned how to increase and decrease the decimal places displayed. The freeze feature in Google Sheets allows you to keep specific rows or columns visible at all times while you scroll through your spreadsheet. This is particularly useful for keeping headers or key data in view as you work with large data sets. We have a large data set for a fictional business. The spreadsheet has 8,000 plus rows of product sales transaction data. I will press Ctrl plus Home on the keyboard to return to the beginning of the spreadsheet. Now let's scroll to the right through the columns. This spreadsheet has 21 columns. This is a big spreadsheet compared to the smaller lists we have looked at in our previous lessons. Okay, I will press Ctrl plus Home to return to cell A1. While working with a big spreadsheet like this one, it is a good idea to use the freeze feature. When scrolling down the spreadsheet, do you notice that the top row is no longer visible? It is difficult to know which data we are looking at now. We can freeze the top row to alleviate this issue. To freeze a row, click View on the menu bar. Next, hover the mouse over Freeze. Finally, select one row. The top row is now frozen. When we scroll down the spreadsheet, the top row is always visible, which enables us to see the column names no matter how far we scroll. This makes it so much easier to use the spreadsheet. Okay, let's scroll back to the top. We can also freeze multiple rows if we need to. Once again, click View on the menu bar. Next, hover the mouse over Freeze. This time select 2 rows. Now 2 rows are frozen. You can freeze even more rows if you like. I will press Ctrl plus Home on the keyboard to return to the top of the spreadsheet. Just click a cell in the row you want to freeze. Just like before, click View on the menu bar. Next, hover the mouse over Freeze, then select up to row 4. 4 rows are now frozen. You can also unfreeze the rows. Click View on the menu. Next, hover the mouse over Freeze, then select No Rows. The rows are unfreezed. Okay, let's look at how we can use the freeze feature with columns also. Here we have Order ID 32. It has 4 items in the order. What if we wanted to find out what the product was, or the ship date? These columns are towards the middle and end of the column list. Let's use the freeze column feature to make it easier for us to navigate the sheet. Let's click in a cell in the order date column, which is column C. Once again, click View on the menu. Next, hover the mouse over Freeze, then select up to column C. This freezes the columns up to C. Now, when we scroll towards the product and ship date fields, we can still see the order ID and order date columns at the beginning of the sheet, which makes it much easier to work with. Finally, you can freeze rows and columns at the same time. Let's go to View, then freeze the top row. Now, whether we scroll down or right, the top row and first few columns will always be visible. In this lesson, you learned how to freeze rows and columns to make it easier to see and navigate your spreadsheet. The Paint Format feature in Google Sheets enables you to copy the formatting from one cell and apply it to other cells. It's like a magic wand to quickly replicate styles such as font, color, borders, and more across your spreadsheet. Let's apply some formatting to the first section. First, I will increase the font size of the column names. Next, I will also bold them. After this, let's add a fill color. This light blue color looks good. Finally, let's select this range of cells, then add a border. I will add an outside border to wrap up our formatting. Now, what if we wanted to apply the same formatting to the other sections? We could repeat the same steps, but using the Paint Format feature would enable us to do this faster. To use the Paint Format feature, first select the cells whose formatting you want to copy. Then click the Paint Format button on the toolbar. Next, select the cell or cell range you want to apply the formatting to. The formatting from the original cells are instantly applied to the new cells. You can then click the Paint Format button once again to apply the format to more cells. In a matter of seconds, we were able to duplicate the formatting from the first section to all the sections without doing them manually. Okay, I've finished formatting the last section. In this lesson, you learned how to copy the formatting from one cell or a range of cells and apply it to other cells using the Paint Format feature. Conditional formatting in Google Sheets enables you to apply specific formatting to cells based on their content. It highlights important data points or trends using colors, icons, or data bars. Let's create a conditional formatting rule to highlight in green color all sales amounts greater than $125,000 in this sales report. First, I will select the cell range that contains the sales amounts achieved by the sales reps. Next, click Format on the menu bar. Finally, select Conditional Formatting. A Conditional Format Rules dialog box displays on the right side of the screen with various settings. We have the option to apply a single color or color scale to the conditional cells. Color scale use a gradient of colors to highlight values. In this simple example, we will stick with a single color. Next, the Apply to Range setting is where we specify the cell range to apply the conditional formatting rule to. As the first step, I selected the cell range C2 to C21 in the sales column. This is reflected here. You can also make changes to the cell range here if you need to. The format rules specify the rules or criteria for when the cells will be formatted. You can specify text, date, and numerical criteria. There is also an option to create custom formulas for more advanced needs. I will select greater than. Next, we need to specify the value. If the sales amount is greater than this value, the format rule will be met, and the sales amount will be formatted with the style we set in the next step. Let's set this value to $125,000. The final step is to set the formatting styles. There are choices to bold, italic, underline, color text, fill color, and more. The default fill color is green, which is fine. I will click Done. The conditional format rule is created. All the sales amounts above $125,000 are highlighted with a green fill color. We can now see which sales reps exceeded this amount. Alice Sanchez, Emma Chang, James Jackson, Isabella Moore, and Mia Lewis all exceeded $125,000 in sales. The conditional format rule is listed on the right side of the screen. If you want to remove the conditional formatting rule, you can click the trash can icon. I will leave this as is. In this lesson, you learned how to use conditional formatting in Google Sheets.